Welcome back to the End of the Bench. Hope you liked my first two episodes. For episode 3, I'm bringing on the Crease Dive co-host, Call Me Shido, or Jake as he might go by. Please enjoy and let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you. Awesome. Next guest is going to be can be found on Instagram and Twitter at Call Me Shido. How are you doing today, Jake?
I can't complain, man. It's nice and hot and sticky down in Georgia as it always is. I'm just outside of Atlanta, so enjoying the weather, enjoying the vibes, enjoying lacrosse being back. What can I say?
Awesome. So we're just going to dive right into it. Current co-host of the Crease Dive on Barstool, former Georgia club lacrosse player, avid anti-ankle sock supporter, current triathlete, and a big 30,000 follower on Twitter. How do you get into lacrosse originally?
I was a longtime tennis player, man. So born and raised in Georgia. I've lived here 25 years. It was like eighth grade, and I guess my high school, Alpharetta High School, got a feeder team, and it was my first time playing, and I loved it. It turned out I was pretty good at it with the hand-eye coordination from tennis, and I kind of got into it from there. I bounced around at a couple of different colleges, but I ended up at Georgia. I played through high school. I got recruited to play a couple places. I actually tore my ACL my senior year. Was a little butthurt about that, but I can say with confidence I was a upper mid Division I player. I think. Not sure. I don't know necessarily 10 years ago I would have been a UVA player. I'm not, or a Duke guy. I'm not that big. I'm not 6'3". I'm 6 feet. Probably playing 200 pounds. So, I just ignored a bunch of calls after that, and I went to go, bounce around and do the whole college thing. And I ended up at Georgia. I've kind of always had a following on Twitter for whatever reason, which it's just, I like to post dumb shit. And, I guess it was last year or the year before, Jordy hit me up. Jordy from Barstool hit me up about hosting the Crease Dive with him because his co-host couldn't do it anymore. And it's kind of, snowballed since then. Jordy and I do a bunch of stuff with the PLL and, hot takes and things like that. But it's cool. I've gotten to know a couple guys in the league. Scott Ratliff and I used to play together in high school. We've coached against each other. Like he's a salt of the earth type dude. And, it's huge to see a lot of Atlanta guys out and about. But yeah, man, that's kind of how I got started with the Crease Dive. We'll have a new episode this week. It was kind of, for a while there, we couldn't really do a whole lot. There's not really a lot going on. So, there was some people hitting us up in the DMs about, when's the next episode coming out. And I can confirm for you that we'll have another episode this week. So, it's the week of the 21st of July. So yeah, man.
Awesome.
Sorry,
If you haven't heard the Timmy Troutner episode, make sure you go listen to it. There'll be a link below. So from a little bit of research, it seems like you touched on, you've always kind of had a following on Twitter. I managed to find an article that was written about you, about how the Georgia Club Lax Twitter also kind of became very popular.
Yeah.
And so far as your coach saying everyone has roles in the teams, Jake's is Twitter. So how did that kind of develop? And just have you always been a very technologically sound person? And I guess social media is a whole different animal than just technology in general.
Yeah, I've always been a tech guy to touch on that. I have a master's degree in information technology. I'm a big program guy, whatever. But in 2013, we had a different coach than the one I played under. We played under two coaches at University of Georgia, and I wasn't I was still doing the whole college thing. I wasn't really healthy, right? So I wasn't getting much PT because I, ripping darts and, staying up all night, Adderall, partying, what you do in it, club lacrosse has a reputation. There's a lot of party schools and they go hard, but there's a lot of good athletes that can do it too. I could not do both. So they gave me the keys to the Twitter account in 2013. And then, I got them from 2,000 followers to 10,000 in, a couple years. it made a lot of people mad. Uh, like, the MCLA was not huge on it. Um, I'm not really sure why, because, I guess that, actually I am sure why. I guess it was kind of like they thought it was, a lot of bro culture and, goofing off and things like that. And they want to be like real serious and stuff like that. But, club lacrosse is fun. And I think uh, if you make it seem more hoity-toity than it is, then these kids, because there's tons and tons and tons of good talent in club lacrosse. There's a couple guys who actually went to club and went to transfer to D1. But yeah, I had, that was my role. I did a lot of graphics and social media and funny stuff that kind of kept an audience engaged. And UGA has had a team. They used to be Division One, like way back in the '80s, maybe even earlier than that. So they have a big alumni association, a lot of people who really care about the program, and I think that they really enjoyed seeing the program come back to the limelight. Now, as far as social media goes, I just feel like I've always had an ear for what people want to see or what's going on. I've always felt the pulse of social media, like what would hit and what won't. There's a lot of people that try really, really hard to, like, brands and shit like that, try to be really like down with the teens or whatever. And for me, it's really not that hard. You kind of just post what you post, and if it hits, it hits, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, right? But yeah, that article was funny. I kind of passed on my role after to a kid younger than me, and he was, equally, if not more funny. And it's since fallen off, but that's what happens. That you can't keep it going forever. But yeah, UGA just recently got a new coach, so good luck to them in the future.
Absolutely. And just to touch on also social media, I know you're a big gamer. I can see, I'm assuming, a gaming headset on your head right now.
That's right.
And I've heard you on the podcast talk about playing with some other guys like Ryder Garnsey,
yeah,
and some other people. Is that something that how do you get into video games? I'm assuming you still play, and everyone plays as a kid, but kind of what's your game of choice right now?
Game of choice right now is Modern Warfare. I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty. I do the whole Twitch streaming thing. I got as many followers on Twitter as, I got a good amount. I think 30,000 is a decent amount.
Pretty healthy amount.
Yeah, it's a pretty healthy amount, right? And I've got a lot of I'll just say rabid loyal fans, not fans, but followers who've been around since 2013, maybe even earlier than that. So a lot of cool people who follow me and interact. And I've always been a computer guy, so I guess I've always been around gaming or gamers. And they've always, I got a gaming keyboard, gaming mouse. I play on controller, but I have all those things. I got 3 screens in front. It's kind of like, if you're in the technology space, you're usually in the gaming space. So that's really where it came from.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely see that overlap. And just being a current college student, the people that are more inclined to be programmers, the same 3-screen idea. Very into. Are you Xbox or PlayStation?
I have a PS4. I'll probably steal my girlfriend's credit card and buy the PS5. I may even slap I built my own PC, so I may even slap a new graphics card in there and go PC. Who knows? The world's my oyster. So
definitely. And then I guess continuing the trend of, obviously, as an athlete, you talked about triathlons. As someone who's, I have a few family members that are pretty deep into it. My dad just finished his full Ironman in Lake Placid last summer, and I've seen you do 2. At least I know you've done 2 halves, Chattanooga and one in California. That's correct?
Yep, that's correct.
How are those? Just because I know, just from a little background about it, complete different mental animal and just so different than lacrosse.
Yeah, it's way different than lacrosse. Lacrosse is lacrosse. You have your teammates, right? It's an us versus them mentality, right? And I've torn my ACL 3 times in the same knee. So after the 3rd time, I really started to limit the amount of playing I do. I play for my club team here, the East Cobb Hedgehogs. Go Hogs. I play for them every now and then when I can, but like, there's some guys in there who are really rough and tumble. I
Mhm.
never know who's going to be out there just gooning around, and I could get ragdolled and tear my ACL a fourth time. And, it could be even worse. Right. So, after that third time, I kind of, it's about 6 months of, I guess, 2018. I tore it the third time, and I was getting back into yoga because I'm a yoga teacher, 200 hours certified. And then my girlfriend's cousin actually he like dared me to do the half Ironman with him in Chattanooga. So I set out to just kind of run a little bit, bike a little bit, swim, and the the first half Ironman it was way more than I expected. I still posted a decent time, for my first one, and I hadn't really trained a whole lot. So, it's you versus you. That's what they say. It's you versus you. The mental aspect is it's probably the most damning part, right? Like, I can do 60 miles on the bike, no problem. I can do 80 miles on the bike, no problem. But doing 80 miles on the bike after doing a mile, mile and a half in the pool, and then running, half marathon after that is pretty rough. So the first half Ironman was rough. Second one, I knew what was becoming of me, right? I knew what was ahead of me. It's funny. It was at Indian Wells in December. And in retrospect, I think I actually had COVID during the race.
Really?
Um, yeah. So I was thinking back, I figured this out like a month or two ago. So I was not throwing up, but I was spitting up green stuff the night before the race.
Hmm.
Really couldn't sleep. I was a little feverish. The next day, I got through the race. I, posted it, I beat my time by like 35, 40 minutes. And then I was just spitting up green stuff, and I had a cough for like the next 3.5 weeks. And I got a pretty good immune system, so I fought it off. But my girlfriend's mom, who was there, got sick for like the next 3 months. She just couldn't kick it. She almost had pneumonia. And then she got tested recently for the antibodies, and she has the antibodies.
Hmm.
So by that, you know, by that, I'm pretty sure I had it. Granted, I'm still out wearing a mask. Don't worry, folks. But it was pretty rough. And then I'm supposed to do a half in September. Don't think it'll happen. And then I'm supposed to do my first full in November. Probably not sure that it's going to happen, but that's okay. I totally get that. But your dad doing the one in Placid, that's a legendary one.
Yeah, it was
The course is
crazy.
rough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy course. I went out and drove with him the day before, just kind of the whole setup. Obviously, didn't swim in the lake, but
Right.
the atmosphere was next level. He's done a few halves before, and then has done a bunch of sprints, but just obviously you've crossed the finish line. Just
Yeah.
it is crazy. Everyone's cheering the whole nine. The big announcer guy, I forget his name. My dad would spit it at, yell at me if I didn't know. But
No. I don't know his name either, but
yeah,
I know who you're
but he's
talking about.
super
Yeah.
energetic, amazing vibe. Just people crying when they finish, and it's such a amazing personal achievement to do. I think, at least.
It really is, man. It tests every bone in your body that wants to quit. To me, the reason I do it now, and I've said this on Twitter, is because I wasted my early athletic career. Congrats, huge congrats to you on being an NCAA athlete. I wanted to fuck around a little bit. And everybody has, their path, right? But I'm getting into my athletic prime, like right now. A lot of guys will hit it and then go work at a desk for the next 40 years of their life. I never wanted to be like that, but I'm kind of trying to make up for lost time. And to me, right now, that's kind of my motivation that keeps me going. Kind of, I can still do this at 28, right? A lot of people think, after you're done with your athletic career in college, it'll never be the same. And I don't think that's true. So.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Especially with 28 triathlon wise is relatively young. At least
Yeah.
I feel like the bulk of, having heard people's name called and stuff, the bulk of the people are around like late 30s to
Mm-hmm.
early 50s.
Yeah.
And kind of like you said, people that are athletic that might have done a marathon, a half marathon, ex-college athlete, just person who just felt like they needed a different challenge in their life. And that, having seen that just it's kind of undescribable. You just kind of have to be there, and I'm sure you felt that with yours.
For sure, man. A lot of, all of the professionals are in their 30s. So, a lot of people think that, your life changes at 30 years old or something. And I don't think it does. I actually think it gets, a little bit sweeter.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
When doing some research, I was scrolling through Instagram. I saw your bike, and as a novice biker, so it looks like a pretty cool bike. Showed the triathlon expert, and jaw dropped. That is a pretty sweet rig you got. What can you tell a little bit about that? Obviously, bike people would love it.
Oh yeah, no, this is, I'll lay it out for the bike people. So the first bike I had was an old Scott Plasma. It was like a 2012. It was a hand me down, right? And my back would hurt when I'd ride it for a long time. So I finally, after doing a couple races, I took it to the bike shop, and my guy at the bike shop was like, dude, this bike's too small. He's like, we got to get you on a bike that fits. I was like, okay. I dug deep in my money under the mattress, the rainy day fund. And I shelled out some cash for a Quintana Roo PR5 with disc brakes. It's completely carbon fiber frame, electronic shifting, and some carbon wheels. And it's a beast, and I'm going to ride it for a long time. But the most important part of the bike is how it fits, and mine fits me perfectly. I'm not built like a triathlete. I can imagine that your dad is kind of taller and lankier.
No, opposite. He is shrunk to be an inch shorter than me.
Okay.
He's probably lost 30 pounds in the last year or 2 years. So he was coming in around like 220, 215.
Okay.
Now he's around, like, after doing this and changing some eating, around like high 180s.
High 180s. Okay. So he's still a little bit slender frame, right?
Yeah.
Right. Maybe he might be in the same boat as me, because, I'm 215. I'm stocky.
Similar build.
Yeah. I'm 6 feet, probably 215. And I got, my center of gravity is real low in my legs. So like, I'm not built like a runner. Right. But so, I got to put all my effort into the bike. That's my money, right? Like that's where I make up all my miles, is on the bike. So, and I'm a decent swimmer. Every kid, I feel like every kid I grew up around down here in Georgia did swim team. So I don't know if you did swim team growing up or anything like that.
No.
It might,
No.
it might be a Southern thing. I don't really know, but we all did swim team. So we're all pretty decent swimmers. So I have that in the bag too.
Awesome. Yeah. At least from what I've been told, the swim mentally is extremely intimidating. Just having been out on the water and been in open water, just kind of, you feel it in your mind and the heart, and you just kind of get nervous about that, even though it's probably on the easier side of the things. But it seems like the bike is the thing that everyone kind of keeps on, at least the kind of to make up time, like you said.
Yeah, sure. The swim is really like a warm up, right? So the swim's a good warm up, and the most intimidating part of the swim is you've got, at any time you could have 20 or 30 people right in your immediate vicinity. You can get kicked in the face.
Oh, yeah.
You can
goggles fly. Yeah.
Goggles flying, and you just have to remain calm and keep your breathing under control, especially if you're wearing a wetsuit. If you're wearing a wetsuit and then you have your tri-suit under the wetsuit, you can feel very restricted. So if you lose control of your breathing, then you'll be hanging on to one of the kayaks in a minute. Yeah. So.
But awesome to hear. I'm very happy to hear after college athletics got into that. Best of luck in all future events. What full were you trying to sign up? What did you sign up for in November?
Ironman Florida. So it's in Panama City. It's supposedly it's like the best. One of the longest running ones. It's like the best one for your first one. So I'm trying to get my feet wet there. Get the beak wet at that one.
Absolutely. Well, great. Hopefully things can turn around. It doesn't look like it, but I'm sure there'll be another one in your future. Things will come with time.
I'm sure.
So then I guess moving on, now you kind of on Crease Dive, you kind of play the role as more of like a lacrosse analyst with throwing in some comedy there, as you do on Twitter. What did you think about the relatively short college lacrosse season?
I saw more fire out of that short season than I think I've seen in years. I think that it gave us a nice taste for things to come. The way that it transpired was very rapid. I think we had 4 weekends of games, and then they started canceling. I thought it was extremely promising. To me, I think the most interesting part was that a lot of these guys were saddled with some really, really tough decisions, whether to stay for the extra year or to transfer or to just graduate and go on with their lives. I think that's a really important decision. I think it's a really tough decision. You give, a 21 or a 20-year-old or a 22-year-old. Nobody needs to be making that big of a life decision at that point, but I think it made a lot of guys grow up. And I think that next year's lacrosse season, assuming that it happens, is going to be unreal. I think that the parity amongst, you got guys like Charlie Bertrand transferring, you got guys like, obviously the Michael Sowers, you got all the Penn State guys saying back. I think that the parity amongst all of the top programs is going to be spread out a little bit more. And I mean, it's going to be fucked up. There's going to be stuff that we thought to happen that will happen and won't happen. It's exciting, and I hope it does happen.
If it does happen, playing D3, playing the NCAC, there's a player that just committed to Providence, Peter Petroff, and very surprised he didn't get to a higher program. He is absolutely next level of a player, and he's going to make Providence extremely happy. And that's a little bit of a tidbit. I don't know if anyone else is going to see that coming as much, but just a 4-year starter, extremely good. Denison is just crazy good. They're, I think, fourth in the country. And having to play them twice a year, you really can kind of see that firsthand. So a little tidbit for a sneaky D1 player that might go off. So I guess continuing on the lacrosse talk, PLL and MLL are going right now. We'll kind of just stick to the PLL. How do you feel about the PLL Island coming up? Any predictions? I know you've said a few on your own podcast. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
I got a couple ideas. The Redwoods, where they really took a big hit with Jules Hindenburg not being able to play, which I totally understand. Jules needs to be, any premier athlete like that needs to take it easy and be safe if they've got some risk of complications with whatever they've got going on. But I think the Water Dogs are going to make some waves. You've really got an all-star roster. They've really assembled an all-star roster. I think that the Whip Snakes will be the Whip Snakes. I mean, it's a solid team with some solid players all around. I think we might see a little bit of some extra stuff from the Atlas this year. I'm not so certain though. I don't know. Again, like, it's impossible to talk about the PLL because you never know what's going to happen on a given day, right? The Chrome were second in goals scored last year, and they were bottom of the barrel, which is just insane. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting, right? There's every PLL game I ever watched, except maybe with the exception of like 1 or 2 blowouts, they were all very close and very exciting. So I think that the more eyes, and obviously the PLL, all those guys, shout out Nick Bailey, Tyler Steinhardt, Liam Murphy, all those guys who are behind the scenes, Katie DeFeo, all the people who are behind the scenes pushing that content out, they're going to get a ton of eyes on the league, and that's great. I think that's awesome. And, I got to give, equal numbers of shout outs to the guys who are playing in the MLL. They're still playing at a high level. I got my guy, Nate Solomon, was going off the other night. Yeah. He's a serious athlete. For the future of the MLL, I can't say. I've been asked a couple of times, what do I think is going to happen? I don't fucking know. I think that both leagues are competitive, and hopefully, in an ideal world, right, everybody plays in one league. And hopefully that, there's some way that they can finagle that in the future. But right now, lacrosse is back, and that's really all most people are concerned with.
Absolutely. And it's so amazing just to see it on TV. It's really going to be the next 3 weeks just going to be continuing with lacrosse on TV, and all the other really sports haven't really got that to get under control. Like MLB's having big issues, football's having big issues, hockey pseudo's coming back. But as a Boston guy, 7 of the best in the top Bruins just are in the non-compete list. So who knows what will happen with that. but it's awesome to see lacrosse kind of around. And a little tidbit, you mentioned the Chrome, a Georgia boy that I work with. I work for Face Off Factory right now. Hunter Forbes was a late addition, and
Interesting.
for talking with him, he has been putting in the work, and hopefully he gets some time to shine as a Face Off guy. Obviously, I can talk about the position forever. I'm not going to bore you.
No, you could. No, I know face-off guys can talk face-offs for
Yeah.
literally their entire life. I know that.
But Hunter has a very different style than Connor, and something that I don't think any of the guys have seen, minus the people that work with him. So minus Drew and Joe, Nardella and Simino, but
Yep.
no one else would have seen him or played against him. So that's going to be something that I obviously coming off the bench, and who have the last year, the Chrome were not shy about doing that two-headed monster with Drew and and Connor. So that's something that might be interesting, especially on the gambling front. Them being 8-1 odds is pretty. It's crazy with only 7 teams. The odds are so not even at all. But very, very excited to see how that goes. And like you said, the social side of things, the 2 leagues being in existence right now is just breeding so much competition socially wise. Like the MLL was their content like 3 years ago was pretty non-existent. Like they'd post some things and then be like, come to the games if you can. But them kind of having to compete with the PLL has kind of brought the best of both sides. So hopefully something can happen. But if not, they're both putting out some content. They're both putting out a good product on TV, on Instagram. So that's exciting to see as a lacrosse fan.
Yeah, that's huge. And I had to look up Hunter Forbes. I'd heard that name before. He's from Woodstock.
Yeah.
Woodstock High School, played at JU. There's a lot of guys like that. There's since I was, Scott Ratliff was like one of the first guys to actually get out of Georgia and go play. And it's kind of just blossomed from there. They're all over the map now. So that's huge to see. But yeah, man, with the 2 leagues, you can talk, you can speculate, you can talk all day. You can say, whatever, one's better than the other for whatever fucking reason that you really, want to lament about. But at the very least, we're able to watch, and these, hopefully these guys can stay healthy. And I know that both leagues are taking precautions to make these guys safe. And that's, that's huge too.
Absolutely. The safety is at the forefront of any sports league right now. At least I hope it is.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah. So to now dive in more into the PLL on Twitter, as a big Twitter person, I'm sure you've noticed the Acello Hartzell beef going on right now. And for those who don't know, Kyle Hartzell at the end of last year bet Nick Acello $1,000 on Twitter, saying he wasn't going to make a roster. And then Acello, not surprisingly, made the Redwoods roster and then called him out on it. And it does not seem like Kyle remembers that, even know that it is in the tweet history. What do you think about that going on?
Well, first of all, it was a stupid bet. Acello played. I mean, every story I've heard about Acello is that he's an absolute grinder. He's an incredible athlete. I mean, you can see him on the field.
I'm talking with him tomorrow about the same
talking with him. I fucking love the guy. He's a piece of work, right? But he's also an incredible athlete that you're probably not going to outwork. It was a dumb bet, right? It was stupid from the get-go, because if he didn't make the Redwoods roster, he would have been picked up somewhere else, because he's a workhorse. He plays both ways. He played football. He's gonna ride or die for any teammate that he's with. Like, it's stupid, dumb bet. So Kyle should just pay up. He should have just shut up and pay up. And I've talked to Kyle. We've talked to Kyle before on the podcast. He's not a bad guy, but I did say this today. Every league needs a villain, right? So if he wants to be the villain, that's perfectly fine. I'm not sure that we necessarily had a villain last year, other than Brett Queener giving Jules Henberg a concussion that made him a pretty solid villain. But other than that, I think Hartzell is the Joker for lack of better description this year. So, plain and simple, less talk, more paying up. And, maybe he didn't have $1,000 laying around. He could probably get one of his sponsors to, donate $1,000 worth of something. He could have made it happen, right? But instead he wants to argue about it, and now he's going to get memed into oblivion.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting. You'll get to hear it directly from the horse's mouth when you talk to Acello. But Jake said that he's Team Acello, and Acello knows that I'm Team Acello.
Yeah, especially now how it's only going to be charity money. It seems like it's
should come out of his pocket.
Be on that side. Yep.
Should have come out of Hartzell's wallet. It really should. He should have just paid up.
Yeah. Hopefully the Owls, I believe it's the Owls, that group gets their $1,000 any way it can. Even though I heard a murmur that Nick might just be the better person and just pay the $1,000 himself.
That would be what a guy.
Yeah, great guy. So then kind of some fun questions to kind of end. If you were in Utah right now, who would be your go-to roommate? If you had to be there.
Oh man. I'm a pretty regimented guy, right? I like a good schedule. I don't like to stay up late. I like to eat pretty healthy. So I'd have to rule out pretty much all the goalies. Because I know they're eating whatever they want. I know Tim Troutner said, when we interviewed him the other day, he eats whatever he wants. So, I can't have any McDonald's in the room. That's ridiculous. None of that. I do like to work out too. So maybe some, that doesn't really narrow anything down. I'd say I'd probably have to be one of the face-off guys because they're the ones who like routine the most. They probably, they want to be in bed at a good time so they can, get up at 6 a.m. and retape all their sticks or do whatever the fuck that, stick softballs in the throat and whatever the fuck that face-off guys do. Every face-off guy I've ever known is an absolute goddamn weirdo. So
hand up, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think if I had to pick a face-off guy, probably take one of the rookies. Peyton Smith. I've heard Peyton Smith's a chiller. He went to Marist.
Out of Marist,
Yeah, it's a Marist guy. Maybe Peyton Smith or Drew Semino, somebody like that.
Cool.
They seem chill. No, You know what? Jake Withers, because I know that Jake Withers plays Warzone. So
yep,
we could game.
There you go. And then kind of, at least if you've looked at your Twitter the last 2 days, been a lot of lacrosse style talk. So I know that the picture of Grant Ament I'll put in circulated with him with sporting ankle socks and short shorts at practice. And you heavily called out the ankle sock look and have been doing so for the past few years. What do you think about that in terms of the lacrosse style?
So first of all, I'm indifferent about the shorts, right? I know the short shorts are making a comeback. That's fine, right? If you got it, flaunt it. That's perfectly fine. But the arguments for ankle socks don't. There aren't any, right? If you try to make the argument that you have calves and you want to show them off, you don't need ankle socks to do that. That's a fallacy, right? If you have nice calves, they pop. They pop, right? They pop no matter what. Jordy tried to tell me this morning that, if you have a nice tan, then you want to show that off too. Excuse me, can you not see the tan anywhere else? That's ridiculous. You can have tan lines all over the place. It's not, you're not going to just eliminate your ankle, your mid calf tan and be like, God, it's very stupid. And functionally, they don't really serve a purpose. The ankle socks, they let all the turf pellets get down in there. You don't like that, right? Nobody likes that. The other thing is that if you take an ankle chop from a defenseman, the sock absorbs a little bit of the impact, right? It helps you just kind of slide on down rather than just taking right on the skin. That's huge. That's as a defenseman who regularly hands out ankle chops. That is, it hurts way more when I'm getting skin. I know that. It's mid-calf socks till the day, to my last dying breath, just because the ankle socks have no function. If they had a function, a reasonable function, there would be an argument, but they just don't.
I feel like people now might be wearing them just because of that, to be
that's true.
The anti, to flip it. Like I've seen Paul in the last few videos, he's been sporting the short shorts and then the ankle socks with about 2 pounds of chest hair. But it just seems like the more you talk about the ankle socks, the more people are going to wear them just because they are that good where you can't poke that hole in their game because they're
You
going
know,
to go out and score 10 goals.
I if you're doing it to be like a rebel, like, I can kind of understand, that mindset, but I still think it looks stupid, and there's really no function. If you want to be a rebel, the rebels didn't win the Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to think about that. All the there's not really a whole list of famous rebels in history.
Star
I'm sure
Wars.
that, Star Wars maybe. Again, fiction. It's not, it's fiction. So yeah, man, I'm out on ankle socks. I always have been. I know they don't really serve a purpose. They don't look nice. I mean, it's just,
And then, yeah. And
they
then
kill
even
me.
there was a college lacrosse player that I believe you called out as well. Not going to say the team, but I did play against that player
Yeah.
this past year. He was sporting full length compression,
Yes.
long sleeves as
Yes.
well, and the ankle socks.
Yeah.
That kind of
It's a
hurt
rough
to
look.
see.
It's a rough look. And, I get he plays in the middle, and, well, I'm going to get into some geography here, but he plays in a
Midwest.
state. He plays in a state that's called the Midwest, but it's pretty much the Northeast to me. But it's cold. First of all, the long sleeves that aren't compression, those are reserved for goalies only, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the long flappy long sleeve, definitely goalies only. And then, like, I don't know why you would wear long compression socks or long compression shorts and then ankle socks, because if your goal is to be warm, it would make more sense to wear the mid caps. So it's whatever. I feel like people are just doing it to fuck around, and they don't respect the swag enough. That's fine with me. That's fine.
Mm.
That's fine.
See, on the
It's
sideline during
swagless.
that game, it was a mostly sweat zone sweats.
Yeah.
At least when we played them, it was extremely cold as a night game. And even I know the diehard old lacrosse coaches would not let any player out even with a sweatshirt under their jersey. But that's
Yeah.
starting to change at least. And how do you feel about that? Obviously, Pat Spencer kind of was the first player to really do it, and hopefully opened a lot of college lacrosse coaches' eyes to players wearing sweatshirts underneath their jerseys. What do you think?
I think I'm kind of out on that too. I know that. I mean, again, man, I grew up in the South. I grew up playing in the South. We only have about one cold month out of the year, but it is really, really cold. Cold for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 20s and 30s is cold for me. Like, that's actually anything under 60 degrees, I'm freezing. But we did a lot of I rocked a hoodie a lot, and I think it's a comfortable look. I don't really mind it. I'm sure that some of these teams who rock Nike and Under Armour, they can maybe make a special hoodie that is a little bit thinner but has like some water wicking material, because you sweat a ton under that hoodie.
Yeah.
So like I think it's a good look. I think Pat Spencer made it famous. Pat Spencer made a lot of stuff famous. That guy's the real deal. Just balling out. Yeah, too bad he's not. That's fine, dude. If he can go play in the NBA and make some, make some
probably
get
play
a bag.
in Europe, to be honest.
Yeah, if he can go play in Europe and get a bag, why not?
Do him.
Go do him is right. So yeah, I think the hoodies making there. I was going to say that we rocked the quarter zips. So we had the quarter zips looking fly, right? It wasn't a great move because like the zipper would like, you'd hit yourself with the zipper. Like, it was convenient for the helmet, but everything else, it didn't work out very well. Yeah. In retrospect.
In high school, we had a few practices during a really, really bad storm before and after a hurricane. And there was multiple people wearing just full ass rain jackets underneath the pennies, with like the hood underneath the helmet to the maximum dryness. And that is about the funniest look I've ever seen, I think.
That's
like a bright red.
Basically.
Yeah. Just as ridiculous as you can physically look.
That's insane.
Yeah. So kind of closing to really, really close. Just kind of, if you can pull out your favorite lacrosse memory. I know there's probably so many for you in the business side of things, and as well as just you personally playing. If you can just kind of close with that, that'd be great.
I have two. I like to tell them a lot. In high school, Charlotte Catholic and Charlotte Latin came down to play like their spring break, right? We got them to come down to Georgia to play us, right? And they're great teams. You know, Charlotte Catholic is a perennial powerhouse in North Carolina. You know, their starting attack. One kid went to Stevenson, the other kid went to Ohio State, and then the third guy was going to Army or VMI, right? So, you know, 3 all-star attackmen against, you know, me and my 2 buddies, right? And we won that game in overtime. And the Charlotte Catholic coach actually asked our coach not to put it on Lax Power. They were real butthurt about losing. So I always like that one because those guys can go fuck themselves. The other one is that at Gate Cup in 2007, one of our guys from our team made it to the All-Star team. I played for like an FCA team. I was like 14. There was no way I should have been up there playing, like my ass kicked. One of the guys on our All-Star team got it to the All-Star team in the All-Star game. So he's coming out of the box and he, you know, catches the ball out of the box and he's taking it up the field on a clear. This pole comes zooming out of the box, catches up with him. You know, he misses this poke check like wild. And we were like, wow, that guy kind of stinks. That's the guy getting close to him and hits him with a rusty gate. First time I've ever seen it in my entire life. D Twigs, our guy, picks up the ball, runs down the field, dishes one for an assist. It was CJ Costabile, right? And he must have been a sophomore. And then to see him, you know, he must have been a junior or a senior because, you know, to see him 2 years later, you know, playing at Duke was insane. So I always like that one because he was the real deal even before people knew about him. That kid was a freak. But those are two of my favorite lacrosse memories. I'd say there's a dozen more, but you know, lacrosse guys, we can talk all day about it.
Of course.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on. Make sure to check out Call Me Shitto on Instagram and Twitter, as well as the Crease Dive on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much.